Hey everyone, this is Airel from Fulfill.com. We're continuing our series on interviewing logistics leaders in the industry, and today we have Drew Horner from Deliverzen. So, Drew, how you doing today?
Doing really good, Greg, man. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, we're happy to have you, and we want to learn a little bit about Deliverzen today. So, I'd love to just start with your story behind Deliverzen, what sparked the idea, and what led you to where you guys are today.
Yeah, we started the company in 2017 out of an existing parent company. We were building and growing that up for a while, and we added about 30 customers at the time within the first kind of couple years there. Didn't know what we were doing as a 3PL because we were kind of operating out of an existing company that was shipping their own, e-commerce. It wasn't e-commerce, but it was kind of e-commerce parcel delivery orders. Doing quite a bit then. And then as we were kind of building and growing, we had a lot of transitions in the team, a lot of transitions in the infrastructure and everything we were doing. And eventually had an opportunity in January of 2021 to completely break this company away, Deliverzen, away from that existing parent company and go get our own facility. We moved from 18,000 square feet into 34,000 square feet, and now we're in 164,000 square feet here in Coppell, Texas, and just blowing and going. So it's been a heck of a journey.
A pretty common journey, I would say, in logistics where a lot of owners have a ton of e-commerce experience and then sort of grow into a 3PL. And I think that ties in with servicing the e-commerce brands because a lot of owners that come from that background really understand e-commerce deeply. And in a competitive landscape, there are a lot of other 3PLs out there. And what truly sets Deliverzen apart from sort of the rest of the 3PLs out there?
Yeah, so there's really two different categories of 3PLs. You have those enterprise 3PLs and you have kind of boutique 3PLs. And what I learned as we were kind of growing in this, like, hey, we're a boutique 3PL. But as we kind of get better and better, I looked at it, was like, hey, we're really good at service. We're really good at packing out and quality. We're really good at these things, which is awesome. There's a ton of 3PLs out there, like you said. Anybody can pack products into a box. Like, that's not the issue. If they're struggling doing that, then you need to find a new 3PL partner. It's the additional extra stuff that you can do. The biggest headaches that happen is when you're working with a boutique 3PL, you can't scale that well. You get great communication sometimes, not all the time, but you get really good communication and get close, but you can't scale. They can't really do all the services you need. They can't do, every service you need, even at the right price point, because they may not have the economies of scale that they're building into. So I've been there. I get it. I've been in that phase. But the difference is too, is when you go to an enterprise 3PL, you have to kind of be just a cog on the wheel. You can't really fit a square peg into a round hole. You have to really fit a lot of what their models are just simply because of their size. They get a lot of efficiencies, which is great, but you don't necessarily get the partnership and the communication and the forecasting and the planning. And so for us, it's like, well, I want to be a boutique 3PL, but I want to operate as an enterprise skill set and skill level. And so what we did was combine those two worlds as we were growing to get our space here and our network facilities across the US now to really build that model out. So we're not just looking ourselves as a fulfillment company. We want to make sure we deliver the best service in order fulfillment. And service starts from when a customer checks out to when that customer opens the package. So we're really looking at the entire kind of end point of when a customer checks out in your Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, whatever it is, or an AI portal nowadays, which is pretty sick. They make that checkout, that rate shopping, what's that going to look like? What's that conversion ratio look like? We're not a marketing company by no means, but we want to look at the data so that we can ensure that your orders and flows goes into our 3PL and then make sure that order gets shipped out on time to your customer. So for us, we're filling that gap between the two. We have an incredible team here, brought on some guys with great experience, some really enterprise 3PLs to kind of come down to our level and our boutique level and take us to that enterprise level of experience and service. Now that we're operating out of 164,000 square feet here, fully climate controlled facility here, just operating with 40 different pack stations. It's a whole other game. So our vision was to be a boutique 3PL, but continue to scale in size to make sure that our customers know we're delivering the best service with excellence. We forecast with our customers. We plan inventory with our customers. We do as much as we can to take on the logistics headache from our brands that we work with.
I think that's such an important part for brands who are thinking about coming on to a 3PL is someone who can scale with you and sort of grow in the same ways that you're growing, where you can get both of the experiences, that boutique with that mid-market to enterprise level of 3PL as well. And, when brands come on board, there are some common pain points. And what are the common pain points you see most brands struggling with before they partner with a 3PL like yours?
The typical complaint that we get from a lot of brands coming to us is just the relationship they have with their current provider. So a lot of times they're bad communication, slow communication. That's one, right? Two, the second side of it is inventory control. A lot of times 3PLs don't have great ICQA processes in place. For us, we're doing inventory counts every day. Our goal is to get through every single customer twice a year with 2 full physical inventory counts. We don't commit to that contractually, but that's our goal. That allows us to have a really high level of excellence and order and inventory accuracy for our customers and SLAs that we can commit to, which is massive. And another piece that we find is really the inbound is how receiving comes to us, because everything starts from receiving. If your receiving is off, inventory is off, then you're going to have slow throughput on the front, on the backside. Orders are going to get delayed. Orders are going to get mispicked, mispacked, simply because a product's not barcoded correctly or not receiving on the inbound right on the right pallet size or whatever it may be. So those three kind of main things that we see is just communication. Customers get frustrated with a 3PL who they expect is going to be outsourced fulfillment when they end up having to manage themselves. Another part of it is inventory control. If your inventory is not dialed, if you're not doing cycle counts daily, you're going to have a lot of inventory headaches. You can't get end of month financials as well. So you really want to make sure your inventory is dialed on that side of it. And then working on the front end, making sure that receiving is clean with their suppliers. We work with their suppliers directly if our brands want us to make sure that receiving set up from the get-go to increase the likelihood that we are able to manage inventory with as close to accuracy as possible and the throughput velocities that they're going to have when it comes to their sales and promotions.
I think that's such a great spotlight you're shining on the receiving portion of the relationship because I think that oftentimes gets overlooked a lot, as brands are anxious to get in with 3PLs and 3PLs are anxious to onboard. But it seems like you guys have a great receiving process to make sure you guys check all the boxes and will even work with people's suppliers to make sure you have all the information you need. So
Yeah,
I think that's a really strong point for brands to think about before they partner with a 3PL like Deliverzen.
yeah, totally.
And beyond just cost, what would you say are 2 to 3 critical, like overlooked factors that brands should prioritize when evaluating a 3PL?
So I would say one of the biggest things is what are your expectations? What do you want your 3PL to do? When you're evaluating 3PLs, like what do you want? Well, do you want them just pack orders for you? There's a lot more to it than that. Or are they going to do cycle counts for you? Are you worried about inventory control measures? Like what does that look like? Think about it. Like, hey, I'm putting $1 million in inventory or $50,000 in inventory, whatever it is. Like that's your money. If that gets lost, broken, damaged, or is not necessarily controlled the right way, or orders are delivered slow, like you're going to lose money on that. You're going to have stale inventory there as well. So what are they doing on the inventory measures? So not just fulfillment if you want those expectations. Do you want to make sure your inventory is accurate? Like you want to make sure that's dialed and clean. I would ask about customer or employee churn, right? So are they a growing 3PL? Or do they have a lot of employee churn? The model inside of the industry is using a lot of flex labor, which is just part of it, to pass those costs and keep those costs down. So that's part of it. But what that main admin staff or the main base staff, have they been with the company for 6 months, 1 year? We have employees here that have been with us for over 20 years inside of working with our family and the business that we're building. And so that's massive because what you're going to see when a 3PL has that type of tenure inside of their base, that core values of making sure that quality is going to be committed to and hitting those SLAs you're going to need. You have those people that have experienced a lot, not just in the warehouse or not just in the admin side on this level, but even on the warehouse floor. So there's a lot of that. So the model is flex, what that looks like. I would look at things to consider too is like, do you have a lot of projects that you really like? A lot of times brands come to us, they don't realize, they like, hey, I like to send influencer pack outs. I like to send gifts here and there. We do these point of sale displays. They think, oh, these are awesome to do. But then when you give it to somebody to do, you start getting things can get lost in communication, things get worse. So I'd really consider what are all the projects you got? What are all the special things outside of just packing orders that you're going to need? Do you have requests like custom packaging and branding? And a 3PL like us is like, we're going to make sure we bring in the right suppliers and partners to make sure that your custom packaging is built out the way you want it. Other things, you want to consider shipping costs. What are your weights and dims of your products? Can your 3PL help you maximize your pack outs in order to save you a few cents here and there on your shipping costs through rate shopping? A lot of things like that. So the biggest thing when brands talk to us, or when I talk to people like, what are you doing? What are you looking at when you're looking at a 3PL? Is like, what are your expectations? Like, what do you want? Are they just packing orders? Are they just making sure inventory is right? Are they doing cross-docking? Do you have a lot of special projects that you may not realize are special projects that can be a headache on your plate? Those are a lot of things to look at when you're evaluating 3PLs and what they can offer you.
Yeah, great call outs on some of the fringe work and the fringe type things that a lot of brands, obviously you have your main focus as a brand in your business, maybe those hero SKUs, but you're often doing a lot of custom side projects. And I think that
Yeah.
is an important part when you're searching for a new 3PL. In your experience, what are some of the most common like pitfalls or red flags brands encounter when selecting a 3PL and how can they be avoided?
Some of the pitfalls in the space is sales doesn't set the expectations well from a 3PL side. Sales is going to sell a lot It's that transition from sales into operations that really matters. What does that look like? I would ask those questions too. Is like, hey, if we work with you, what's the onboarding look like? How dialed in is operations? Have operations been on sales calls with you, right? And they brought in leaders to do it because sales, I'm a sales guy. I've got 3 sales reps on our team. They're outstanding. They do a great job. But one of the things we've really focused on is making sure that we set expectations clearly. We tell you what we're going to do. We tell you what we're not going to do from the get-go. We undersell and over-deliver intentionally because some of the pitfalls I've seen over the years, in myself included, it's like, I'll sell something. Yeah, we'll do this, do this. And they get really excited. And even if we are doing these things, even if we are able to perform and keep these up, it becomes a headache because they may not realize how tough it actually is. And so when you're working through auditing 3PLs or working with any type of service provider, sales is always going to seem easier than it is. But if you're looking at a sales process where they're responding quickly, they're bringing in operations when needed, they're bringing in the right people to talk to you about certain projects, whatever it is. What's that onboarding look like for working with that 3PL? For us, we've done hundreds of launches over the years. It takes our average time for onboarding is anywhere from a week and a half to 3 weeks, right in there. And that doesn't mean your orders are delayed. That just means that we're dialed in and keeping those processes clean. We can actually do onboarding for most of the time with our customers where there's only about an hour's worth of delay from systemic changes to where your customers won't even notice an operational change in order fulfillment. So for us, we've got it dialed in really clean. We bring in operations, we bring in IT, full stack IT developers in-house as well to handle all this onboarding transition. So those are some of the headaches that are massive when you're looking at it. It's like sales can sell you really well. You may think you're getting something, oh, these cool technology, this cool portal, all this kind of stuff. The problem with that is you're getting sold, which is good. It's fine. You're getting sold. Maybe they can do. What you don't realize is that you're the one that's going to end up having to manage it all. When you look at what we've done is like, hey, our sales, we're going to sell you what we do. And when you work with us, you outsource logistics to us. When you think through fulfillment, a lot of times brands are looking, hey, I'm going to outsource logistics to these guys, but you end up having to do all the work yourself. You're in the portal. You're setting up inventory. You're setting up SKUs. You're making sure these carriers are mapped a certain way. It's like when you work with us, we outsource it completely to us. We do all of that work for you so that it's breath of fresh air. So that's the kind of stuff that are pitfalls in the logistics is that I don't necessarily think that many 3PLs, they don't intentionally do it, but a lot of us have done it. I've made this mistakes too, is you oversell and you underdeliver. And the problem is the expectations aren't set clearly of who does what work is done, what is the brand responsible for, and what is the customer responsible for. And that seems to be some of the biggest headaches.
And to sort of dovetail right off of the technology piece, it's pretty easy to demo a flashy system and make it
Yeah.
look right when everything is perfectly set up for you.
Yeah.
But when you're using it to your business needs, sometimes it becomes a different story. So it's nice to have a partner in a 3PL that manages those expectations and sort of holds your hand through that process.
Yeah.
And along with the technology, how can brands sort of evaluate whether their technology matches the existing systems with a 3PL? What sort of things can they do ahead of time to make sure that they're aligned technology wise as well?
Well, nowadays it's so easy, right? It really is. It's not that big of a deal. A lot of people ask this question, and man, it's like I've been doing it for 9 years. I see where it's coming from. I know where the headache's at, but technology nowadays is so easy. If a company's using a certain WMS, you can go look at that WMS's website. And if they have plugins and ask those questions, how are they doing customer service? Are they using modern days of communication? Are they using some AI to help on the customer service side? Things like that. It really is easy. But there are things at scale that customers need to look at, but they don't necessarily need to worry about I wouldn't say as long as the 3PL has a reliable system that is showing them data, can clearly show them what's going on, and they can make some SLA commitments for you with technologies they have, then I wouldn't worry about the 3PL's technology. I would be able to find a good solution as a middleware if needed. Most of the time, like our WMS, we use a great provider. They're awesome guys. They've built a great tool. They plug right into a lot of the mainstream sales channels, so it's pretty easy. But those custom solutions, custom built outs, we'd had to use middlewares inside of that. But man, there's great middleware partners out there where nowadays we have, Retail Ready is a great partner of ours. We work with them. They've been awesome to work with as far as being a middleware partner on a lot of our B2B stuff, and they have the capabilities of doing that e-commerce D2C middleware as well. So it's pretty easy to find it. But I would just be very weary to make sure that if a company, it's more of like if a 3PL says they can do something and they commit to it contractually, like in an agreement in writing, that if they have the tech stack that's showing you the data, which is a simplified tech stack, you don't need a lot of tech stack nowadays, just like usually it's not very many tools needs to be in there, then I don't think you should be worried about that as much. More so just finding the right partner to connect it all together is pretty critical.
I would agree with that overall sentiment. Just there is a lot of middleware where you can get exactly what you
Yeah.
want, and systems integrations are pretty seamless nowadays. To your point, they're usually one button clicks here and there. I see a lot of brands tying in with their ERPs at higher level, and then it ties in with any type of reporting they might already have set up, which is, again, a nice piece of the tech stack to include as they're evaluating a 3PL.
Yep.
So I'll sort of switch the focus. We've talked a little bit about technology. And I think one of the bigger factors with a 3PL can be your cultural and value alignment. Like, what is
Yeah.
important to the brands, and how much should brands like weigh the cultural fit and the shared value system
Yeah.
with a 3PL for long-term growth? How do you see those things fitting in?
I think it's pretty massive. It's more of like, hey, what are the values that they care about? Do they want to have quality service? Do they want to have, do they have tenure, right? They have employees that have been there for a long time. Like we have employees that have been here for a long time. That's a good sign of a healthy business typically. Do they care about your inventory as much as you do, right? Like in our place here is one of the things we talk about is that I tell our team weekly. Inventory is our brand's money. That's where their money is at. They spent their money in it, they move it.
Yes.
This right here is our livelihood as well. So we don't get paid unless that product moves. And if we mess that product up, we're not going to get paid. In fact, we're going to lose money because we got to cover it. So we make sure we count it, we keep it clean. So what type of value sets do they have? Do they have an excellent warehouse, right? Do they have a place when you walk in, are you wowed by the warehouse? Or is it just another warehouse that you walk in and it's like, hey, it's just a typical warehouse. One of the things I told our team here is when you walk into our warehouse, I want it to be sparkling floors. Like I want this place clean, dialed, excellent. Because again, when a customer walks in and they've got 500 pallets in there, is I want them to know that their product's not going to get dusty. It's not going to get dirty. The way we take care of our floors and our racking is the same way going to be the baseline of how we take care of your product. So there's little things like that. Are we organized at our pack stations? Are our pack stations streamlined and systematized in the same way that it's like, hey, makes it easy for somebody to come in? Well, when a brand sees that, hey, these guys are operationally dialed. They keep things clean. Their efficiencies are good. That's how they're going to manage our brand's order volumes, fluctuations, what we need in our processes as well. So when it comes to those values, I would look at employee tenure. I'd ask them about it. I would ask about, I'd want to see videos or pictures of the warehouse, and FaceTime calls are great. We've done quite a few of those. If you can't tour the warehouse, come tour it. It's great. But it's how they maintain their bathrooms is going to be how you can probably expect how you're going to be treated. That's the reality. So what's it look like when you walk into their office and, what's their culture like on the inside? And you'll see a lot of those little signs like that.
I think that is a good pro tip. Check out the bathroom. What does it look like inside of there? Because with so many employees going in and out, if that's going to be clean, you can bet the rest of the
Yeah.
operation is clean as well. So,
Yeah.
pro tip right there from Drew. And yeah, I want to talk a little bit about customization and flexibility. And you talked a little bit about how you guys do customized packaging and those needs. And so, what's a smart way for brands to assess how flexible a 3PL can be to their needs? And maybe some of the things you're doing at Deliverzen to be flexible with the brands to their needs.
Yeah, so first off is like if a 3PL is asking you a lot of questions when you bring a project in, that's a good sign. Because if they're asking you, package dimensions, weights of the finished good, weights of the goods that you're getting to, how many units are going into this, what's the end goal of the total dimensions you want to get to, whatever. If they're asking a lot of questions when you're working that, that's a good sign because that means they've done a lot of projects, that they know what they're doing, and they can be super flexible with you. Another thing to look to is referrals as well. So if I would 100% get referrals from, two, maybe three different referrals at the 3PL if you're choosing to work with them. Get those calls, get it dialed, and ask those questions as well. What type of services are you using with Deliverzen? Have they done a good job on the packet? What's their inventory control been like for you? How's their receiving been? Have they been great? What's their communication look like? How are the projects that have you had any special projects with them or not? Almost, every single one of our customers probably has had special projects on the side. So I would ask referrals. I'd probably look at those two things. If a 3PL is asking you more questions and they're asking you for SOPs or video pack outs, whatever it looks like, that's a really good sign. And another second side of it is get referrals. Always get referrals. You need at least 2 referrals. You don't need more than 2 typically, but 2 or 3 is going to be a pretty good guess for you guys.
It's a great way to evaluate as well, because then you'll get someone who has actually worked with the team and can see how their operation sort of compares to yours and see if it's a good match just based on what other people are saying as well, since they've been there. And
Yeah,
maybe I've seen the bathrooms at this facility already too, so they know it's a good operation from inside and out.
that's right.
Yeah, so let's move on to like some growth enablement here. A lot of brands, a lot of the catalyst for a brand to move to a 3PL is because they want to grow and they need a 3PL that can grow with them. So, beyond just storing and shipping inventory, what is a growth catalyst for a 3PL and how can they help brands truly scale, such as what you're enacting there at Deliverzen?
Yeah, the best thing about helping brands truly scale is honestly just finding a 3PL that does it the right way. And does it the right way, meaning he's like, hey, are they packing orders the right way 99% of the time? Okay. Are they keeping your inventory accurate at whatever restrictions allowance you're allowing there? Are they receiving within timelines of what they could do dock to stock to make sure that your new products get to the stock ready to ship those orders when it's a product launch, whatever it is? And the last piece is you can do those things are great. They got to do those as baseline. This last piece is partnership and communication. Do you have access to the warehouse floor? Our customer service is on the floor. Their logistics coordinators on the warehouse floor. When you're talking to somebody, it's required to be on video and on the floor. So our team is there for you guys, meaning we've had multiple times where they're talking to somebody. All right, let me go get this product to make sure this barcode's the right way. Or this, hey, yeah, they're receiving it in right now. Let me go check it out. And they'll FaceTime the customer on Slack right there with them and talking to them, showing them that it's coming in. Yeah, this looks like the expiration date's correct. The lot number's good. We should be all set. Things like that. Go right to the pack stage. So that last piece is super critical to help scalability. With us, what I tell brands is like, hey, allow 6 months. The first 6 months are going to be weird. You're going to learn how we work, what it is. There might be some confusing things, and give it 6 months. And then after 6 months, you're going to really see those systems start getting really streamlined. You're going to get comfortable with us, working with us, and understanding kind of all the needs and how we flow. And then it's going to be really clear for you. So when it comes to scaling, is that last piece of it. Those things aren't really important, but that last piece is that partnership side of it. Take the time to invest into that 3PL for a little bit, whoever you choose, and go from there. And another piece is just the basics of it too. Do they have the operational capabilities to help you scale? Have they done it before? We've got a few customers that went from 1 to 10 million. We've other customers that notably a customer came in here, went from 20 million to 75 million in revenue when we
Wow.
got all their stuff
Wow.
over the past year and a half to 2 years working with us. So, and that was due in part because they were weeks behind orders at their previous 3PL. Their retail they were getting about 70% scores on their on time and full. We had to get that up to 100% scores and on time and full across the retail. So then they opened up all the retail presence, which was nice. And so getting that clean and dialed is really critical. And then having the room to scale and grow with you is massively important.
Yeah, and I think you bring up such a good use case because, we are in the age of viral videos, viral sales,
Yeah.
and you can double your revenue within a couple weeks sometime if that event type happens. And, as those brands are growing and scaling, like how often should they revisit and reassess their relationship and terms with the 3PL? The business has changed, maybe it's gone to a new level. Should they revisit that with the brand, or do you see that as more of just an ongoing conversation where you're always having those check-ins with a good 3PL?
With a good 3PL, you should be always having those check-ins. We talk to our customers, we quote, require our customers to talk to us on video calls at least once every other week, at least. Most of our customers are talking to them every week, but on those calls, what we do is we say, hey, where's it going well, right? Where's Deliverzen crushing it? Where is the customer crushing it? Where's it failing? Where's Deliverzen failing? What do we need to do? What mistakes have made? Where's the brand failing? What the brand can do better to help us out as well? And then what's those forecasts? We're talking about forecasting as well. And in those calls, we're auditing performance, we're auditing everything that's going on with not just inside these 4 walls, but also with our brand's business and what they're doing, what they're looking to do. So a good 3PL is going to be actively engaging with you on purpose and reaching out for that. That's what you need to have, especially. You can't build a brand without that. This is, the last touch point to your customer. So making sure that they're keeping all that quality driving for you is massive. Here's the reality. A 3PL is going to be probably, if not one of the, or if not the most expensive line item on your P&L every month. That's part of it. That's the case. So a good 3PL recognizes that, and they're going to do everything to cut costs as best they can. They're not guaranteeing the best. We're not going to. We never are the cheapest. We're definitely not the cheapest 3PL out there, but we are the best for some brands out there of what we do, and it's because of that constant communication that we're always ahead of time. We do quarterly business reviews with our customers as well, and so really just keeping that open line of communication. When you're working with us, we expect our team to respond to you ASAP, immediately on everything as best as we can, keeping things resolved. We want to be ahead of you, 2 steps ahead of you as much as we can to know that, hey, if you're doing a sale, we know based on the history of what we've been working with you, we can say, okay, we know that we're going to get this much volume. We work with you on this to plan labor out, and we're making sure that we're keeping up with those demands as you need. And that's got to be at least at the weekly level, if not bi-weekly.
So yeah, and I think the high touch points there just make sure that you're catching all the small things as the shifts are happening
Yeah.
in real time.
Yeah.
And yeah, as we're sort of wrapping this up here, what specific types of businesses or challenges do you excel at Deliverzen? What does your ideal client sort of look like at Deliverzen?
Yeah, so we focus on a couple different verticals. We focus on cosmetics, wellness, or cosmetic space, so hair care, makeup, skincare, things like that. The wellness space, so it's like supplements, pre-workouts, protein powders, gummies. We got quite a bit of gummies going on. We do some integrative health or life sciences, so like at-home blood sample kits, at-home kits, things like that. And then we're in apparel now as well. So the kind of those four verticals, what we really focus on. We're a fully climate controlled facility. We have insulation all over, so we're very close to being AIB certified as well to handle raw materials and raw food that we can get to, which is really nice. We have about 50 pack stations out there with conveyors and sorters, so our velocity can scale up and down pretty quickly simply because of that, which is super nice. And so a lot of things that we really focus on is making sure we keep to our niche, right? We want to focus on those four product lines right there, which is awesome. And then typically we want to make sure that we're crushing on the D2C e-commerce side, but also the B2B retail side. Our primary service is e-com D2C. It's about 70% of our business, but retail's grown to be about 30% of our business now with brands that need it. So we want to make sure that we're excellent in those areas that we serve our customers in.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Drew. I was happy to talk with you today and fill us in the logistics industry over at Deliverzen. And yeah, hope you have a good one and we'll connect soon.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Drew.
it.